Market equilibrium. So in this section, what we're going to be seeing is market equilibrium. Now we have already seen demand, we have already seen supply separate. Now demand alone can't function in an economy. Why? When people demand, they need somebody to supply the goods and services. Likewise, when producers supply goods and services, there should be somebody demanding them. So demand and supply should interact in the market in, in order to have an effective market function. So when demand and supply come together, we have a balance in the market. And when there is no tendency for the price and output to change, we say that it's a market equilibrium situation. So it's a situation where the expectations of purchasers and suppliers in a competitive market equal each other. So in this situation, the demand and supply are equal. So in a situation where demand and supply are equal and there are no surpluses or no shortages, we say that it is a market equilibrium situation. And it will give rise to two things. One is the equilibrium price and the other thing is the equilibrium quantity. So the equilibrium price is where the demand and supply equal, and we also can be referred to as the market clearing price. Now the equilibrium price can be found in three ways: through a demand and supply schedule, through a diagram, through an equation. So we will see that each one in detail. So when it comes to the conditions of market equilibrium, we have these 5 conditions. So remember this can be tested in your exams. So one condition is the demand price should be equal to the supply price. The quantity demanded should be equal to the quantity supplied. The excess demand and excess supply will be 0. The excess expected demand price and the expected supply price should be 0. The consumer expenditure and the producer revenue should be equal to each other. So when we study in detail, you will see how these conditions are met. So a market equilibrium situation is basically is not an actual market situation, but it's an expected one, right? So that is what we are imagining and we are assuming and we are going to study. So let's see how the market equilibrium can be shown by a demand and supply schedule. So when it comes to the demand and supply schedule, we bring the demand and supply into one schedule where we can see we put up the prices. So let's say I have given you prices from 0 to 6. As the price increases, you can see the quantity demanded is reducing and the quantity supplied is increasing. So in this schedule, we can see a point where the quantity demanded will be equal to the quantity supplied. So at the point where 6 units. So at 6 units, the price is at 3, where the quantity demanded and quantity supply are equal and at the price of 3. So we say this is the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity 6. And the market will remain in this situation. The price, equilibrium price will remain at 3 until the demand and supply changes, right? So we can illustrate this in a demand and supply diagram. So we can use this schedule to plot it. So we can take the price 0 and the quantity demanded 12 and quantity supplied. So I'm marking the 2 points. When the price is 0, quantity demanded is 12 and the quantity supplied is 0. And I'm taking the price range of 6. When the price is 6, the quantity demanded is 0 and the quantity supplied 12. So that is what I have marked it here. At the price of 6, quantity demanded is 0 and the quantity supplied is 12. So you join the 2 points and you can arrive at the demand and supply curves. So the point where demand and supply meet is our equilibrium point. So I have marked the equilibrium price 3 and the equilibrium quantity 6. So I've taken the ranges as each box as 1 to 6 and these each boxes as 2, 4, 6, 8. So according to the diagram, the equilibrium price is 3 and the equilibrium quantity is 6. And we can see there is no surplus or no shortage in the market. So here, how the equilibrium is determined? The point where both the demand and supply curves intersect. The demand curve intercepts the supply curve. So the third way of illustrating market equilibrium is using the demand and supply equation. So what is the first thing we're going to do? We're going to derive the equation. So this we have already seen. So using the schedule, here we are deriving the demand and supply equation. So we find B, the slope, minus 2 over 1. So you can say the change in QD is 2, change in price is 1. So 2 over 1. So the slope is equal to minus 2. And we substitute for A. So I'm using the price range of 10, right? And the quantity demand is 10, the price is 1. So 10 is equal to A minus 2 into 1. So we arrive at A is equal to 12. So we arrive at the QD equation of QD is equal to 12 minus 2. Likewise, we derive the supply equation as well. So from that, what we are going to do? What we are going to do is we are going to arrive at the market equilibrium. So how to calculate the market equilibrium? We already said that market equilibrium is where quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. So we are using that equation and we are finding the equilibrium price. So QD is equal to QS. So what is the QD equation we found? 12 minus 2P is equal to the QS equation is 2P. And what do? It's a mathematical calculation after that. So we find out for P. So you bring the P to the other side. So 12 is equal to 2P plus 2P, 4P. So price will be equal to, you take 12, bring this 4 to this side. So it becomes division. So 12 divided by 4 is equal to 3. So the equilibrium price is 3. So once you find the equilibrium price, you substitute this equilibrium price in any of these equations. Because why? Because equilibrium is where QD is equal to QS. So you can use this any equation to find the equilibrium quantity. So if you use QD equation, 12 minus 2 into 3, 6. So 12 minus 6 is 6. You can use the QS equation, 2 into 3 is 6. So the equilibrium quantity is 6. So you can see using the demand and supply equation, using the diagram, using the schedule, we arrive at the same equilibrium price and the same equilibrium quantity. So it doesn't matter which formation you use, you will arrive at the same answer. So let's look quickly into an example here. QD is equal to 100 minus 10P. QS is equal to minus 20. Remember, it can be a minus figure plus 5P. So how do we find the equilibrium quantity and price? QD is equal to QS. So we substitute 100 minus 10P is equal to minus 20 plus 5P. And we solve this equation. So you bring all the individual figures to this side and bring the 10P to the other side. 100 plus 20P is equal to 5P plus 10P. And 120 is equal to 15P. So we need to find P. So 120, you bring the 15 to this side, becomes a division. 120 divided by 15 is equal to 8. So you substitute this price to this equation, QD equation or QS equation, you will get the answer. So 100 minus 10 into 8, 80, you arrive at 20. Or minus 20 plus 5 into 8, 40, so you arrive at 20. So the equilibrium price is 8 and equilibrium price is 20. So there are a lot of past paper questions where you will have to find the equilibrium price and quantity using the demand and supply equations. So we will see another example here. Suppose the demand function, they have given QD is 50 minus 9P while the supply remains the same. So they have changed the demand equation. So the quantity supplied equation is the same. So what do? You use the same method. Since the demand equation has changed, so you put the demand equation 50 minus 9P is equal to supply equation remains the same. And then you solve the equation as you did before. And you arrive at the new equilibrium price is P. Once you find the price, you substitute in the new QD equation 50 minus 9 into 5. So you arrive at 5. Or you can use the QS equation also and you arrive at the same equilibrium quantity. So here just an example. So equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity is the same.